Oh, it's a bit dark, isn't it? Sorry about that. Here, let me just shine a light on what's happening. Haha. Hi. Good evening. My name's Greg, and I'm Australia's next top model. I have to rotate my phone. My name's Greg, and I'm Australia's next top model. Sorry about the black screen at the start. I am sitting here on the country of Wakambul, of Arabable people. Sorry, I'm a bit out of breath, a bit tired. I'm just going to try and give you a shot in the dark. We are close to the midnight hour on the clocks in New South Wales, where I am, on the stolen lands of the First Nations people. And I am close to, I don't know if you can see, much chance of seeing the rail lines. That's my rope. And the rail lines go to the world's largest coal port. And the world's largest coal port is one thing that we can blockade. It's one thing that we can use non-violent direct action to get in the way of. When I say it's close to midnight, I've got a notification, I can see myself. When I say it's close to midnight, it's not just midnight in time, it's midnight in the climate crisis. The UK Academy of Scientists, and I think it's a European thing now, have put the doomsday clock that they used during the Cold War. I'll talk more about nuclear war later. It is midnight after all, time for scary topics. 1 minute to midnight on climate collapse. We're close. We're really close to passing the thresholds, which mean that we will not be able to stop climate collapse. And for many people in this world, we are already at the point of climate collapse. Just have another look out of the camera there for a sec. It's good, isn't it? This train line is the only train line in to the world's largest coal port. And for about the last 12 hours, 11 and a half now, people who are interested in fighting for their freedom, fighting for their lives, fighting for the lives of all of us, have used the privilege they have to live in this country, so-called Australia. And our privilege comes from the stolen wealth of the First Nations people and the stolen wealth of the lower socio-economic people in our world, exploited by the minority world, what some call the Western world or the developed world. The only thing we're developed in is murder, thievery, bloodshed, pillaging. And we've pillaged and destroyed the world so much that the very ecosystems which keep us all alive, which keep us going, are at risk of collapse. And in many places they have collapsed. The reason they're collapsing, as we know, we all love our techs. I love this phone. We all love these things. But there's a way to do these things sustainably. And we have no choice. Because it's not about individual consumption. It's not about the choices I make, whether I drive what type of car, dirty lithium, dirty petrol. It's not about the mobile phone I use or the head torch. It's about a system that could have transferred years ago to a clean energy system to get off fossil fuels, but hasn't. And the simple reason it hasn't is that those in top, those in power who knew about climate collapse decades and decades ago, I'm talking in the 70s and the 80s, before I was born, knew about climate collapse, and they had a choice. BP is one of the biggest ones. Shell, you name all the big fossil fuel companies. They had a choice. They could either say there's a problem, we're going to need to change our business model, and we're going to have to look at how we do things differently in order to protect life. Or we can spend trillions of dollars spreading disinformation, paying off politicians. And that choice, that little corrupt choice made a few decades ago, is the reason that I have to sit in this tree at midnight on a November, it's not quite midnight yet, on a November evening here in so-called Newcastle. The thirst and drive for the resources to fuel that economic machine, which is in danger of wiping us all out. Thanks, I'm just trying to go slow. Which is in danger of wiping us all out, is what brought colonisers, European colonisers, to this continent in the first place. They came in 1788 and They've been wrought in the place ever since. If they can dig it up, they'll dig it. If they can cut it down, they'll cut it. If they can kill it, they killed it. And they still are trying. This is why deaths in custody is so important for the colonial state. Taking people off their land so we can access those with economic power, not me, but we, those in power with elite economic interest, can get rich. And who's paying? First Nations people are paying all around the world. We know that. Go to the Congo where the cobalt that went in this phone, or the gold from West Papua went in this phone. It's been extracted from the boardrooms of places like Sydney. It's been extracted from the boardrooms of so-called Australia. And history shows us. So by the way, I spent 8 years as a full-time history teacher and a geography teacher. And I spent years and years telling people climate change is coming. And I had kids say years and years ago now, what do you want us to do about it? Here I am. Here's what I want you to do about it. And I need the people in power to take us seriously because we're growing. More of us are going to keep doing this. You can't just keep taking the money. The more you put your boot on our face, the more we will fight back. It's 1 minute to midnight on the doomsday clock. We are all in deep trouble. What percentage? I'm going to guess here, and if anyone's watching the live stream wants to correct me, but is it something like 70% of wildlife has been wiped out in the last 3 decades? 70% of our neighbours, of our home, what keeps us alive, has been wiped out for money. I'm sure we can blame poor farmers in the Amazon or in Indonesia or Malaysia or in the Congo who are just trying to get by, poor people, you know, lower socioeconomic, not poor, but the lower socioeconomic end. We can blame them. But the truth is there's plenty for everyone, and sustainable ways of living that existed there for 1,000 years was ripped out from underneath them by the economic systems of the minority world, the so-called developed world. And again, for those just joining, the developed world is of course only developed in a couple of things: murder, theft, pillaging. And we continue. We continue to murder, theft and pillage. Despite promises of, crap promises of net zero by some time in the future, the UN reported just before the recent climate summit that the developed world, the rotting, thieving, stealing world, is going to double its output of fossil fuels in exports in the next 14 years. Now, one of the things that means in the next 14 years is that any emissions promises they make do not count for those exports. So those exports are going mainly to majority world countries who we've been stealing from for the last few hundred years, 500, 300, 500, depending where. Those emissions go to them, who are just trying to get their fair share, while we continue to consume 80% of the world's resources. So the question is, what do we do about that? We, who are people who live in the 20% of the world who use 80% of the resources, manipulated by the top 1%. Remember that from Occupy? The 1%? How are we going to protect ourselves and our friends and allies in the majority world from the top 1%, who are so scared of being booted off, who are so greedy that they're willing to buy up bunkers in Aotearoa in New Zealand and across Western countries to fly to, because they know what's coming down the line. They know what happens when we get to midnight. It's all over. But they're like, well, we got bunkers. We win. Nobody wins. There's that famous line from my siblings in the Pacific Island, my neighbours in the Pacific Islands, who they tell us, we can't tell them, but they tell us, we're not drowning, we're fighting. We're all going to drown. All of us will drown. So we all need to fight alongside our Pacific Islander brothers and sisters. That's what we need to do. I want to give a big shout out to everyone in those countries who've been fighting so hard. All you warriors, thank you so much for putting yourselves on the line for us. And that's what we need to do. We need to be putting ourselves on the line for each other. Because the people at the top who are killing us, they don't care. You think climate change is something that the oceans are going to rise in 100 years or something? It's famine, it's starvation, it's nuclear war in your lifetime. That's what it's going to be. So I know this is the midnight hour. I know most people probably go to bed because they got to get up and work jobs tomorrow. Some of us work through the night. We're the night watchers. We keep watch and we stand with people who are being oppressed for our economic system. So if you're watching, if you're one of the dozen people watching, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share. That's what's good for the algorithm. In fact, don't like, love it, and or get angry. If you're angry about climate collapse as I am, please get angry. So I'm just going to give you another view of where I am. So it is dark, okay, because then we can't see. All right, I'm suspended, good height above the trees. That's the bush canopy. That's the train line. I can't see if you can see it. The phone keeps telling me to rotate it. That's it over there. And for the last 12 hours, 4 of us have managed to shut this thing down. It's been pretty amazing. So what you need to do, those who are, I know it's scary, right? I know it's hard because I got to support, people think I have to support my kids. People think I have to support how am I going to live and where am I going to eat, what am I going to eat. And that's scary. But the thing is, if we don't full-time work and doing things like this, or supporting this, or training for this, or mass mobilizing in other direct action to cost those in power money, there's going to be no jobs. There's going to be nowhere to live, and there's going to be nothing to eat. And this isn't some far-off, distant Hollywood post-apocalyptic movie. This is my lifetime. I'm 39. I'm nearly 40. And I'm going to see this. This is as much about me as it is for everyone else. Except, of course, I'm in a position of privilege. I'm a white passing, emerging middle-class man, cis, straight. I can get up this tree. So what that means is I carry a lot of privilege, basically. I can spend my time doing this. I can work a bit casual jobs and I can come do this. But I need to be doing this more full time and you need to come join me. If you just joined, there's 29 of you. Thank you for watching. Please give a love and a share. Please bear with me as I take nice deep breaths and calm myself down. I'm pretty calm about my situation. I'm just calm about the whole climate collapse and the fact that I have to do this. But you will meet amazing people. We do build community. And community is the key to our resistance. Because if we don't build communities of resistance, we will die alone. If we do not get in the way of those who will divide us, those who divide us through the media, those who divide us through politics, wedges. Wedge means try and put the other person in a bad spot. We have to unite. And the strongest form of unification is action. Yeah? The more action you take, the more you unify. And this is something that I'm going to admit. I'm just pointing down to the trees. Again, I can't tell if you can see. I've got to admit, this is not for everyone, but there is something for everyone to do. Okay? I didn't think I could do this, and here I am. Okay? I didn't think I could go through the process of courts and watch houses, and here I am. You can also do this. If you've got families to support, we can build communities and support each other to get through this. That's what we do. Because if we don't, we're all going to die. If you're just joining, I just want to pay my respects to the First Nations people. I think I'm on the Wabigool land. And I read today that this is... Oh, yeah, I won't go much into that. But there's old spirits here in old country, and we have to protect it. Country calls us to protect it. And what we've been doing is destroying it. And we've been sitting back and let other people destroy it. Now's the time to stand up and protect. We're not protesting, we're protecting. And you need to come join us. I'm just going to take a short break. Enjoy the view for a moment. I've got to get my gear down in a minute, which is not going to be easy because of the whole phone thing. But I do encourage you to share. I encourage you to, thank you for your comments. I can read them. Please comment. You know, it's late. It's a bit of a Zoom slumber party here on the land of the First Nations of so-called Newcastle, and I encourage you to join me on the front lines in any way you can, because if you don't, your children's lives, they're not going to have much lives. They're not going to get jobs. They're not going to be able to just drive their cars around Rome as it burns, you know? It's burning now, and they're going to be right in the middle of it. Please come and join us on the front line. So my name's Greg. I'm 39. I'm a casual teacher. I've spent a lot of years teaching high school history and high school geography. And I've spent the last few years traveling around doing my best to get in the way of this. I am currently attached to a sit, which is attached to the God rope. So if anything happens to that rope, I go down. It's part of the web of life, hey? And I'm part of the web of life, and we're all part of the web of life. So I've got a good seat, and it's beautiful up here, actually, to be honest. Country's beautiful, and I don't think we don't spend enough time doing that. Just bear with me as I breathe and take my time. Enjoy the view. I'm gonna have to stop in a minute and get some water, which means I'm gonna have to put the phone down or in my pocket. So I am gonna try and keep one long live stream going, but it's just gonna be a bit boring for a minute. Just to anyone watching, comments, can I lock the screen or something and keep the live feed going? Things to remember for next time. Big love to everyone out there doing protection. I'm just going to reach around now, put the phone down for a minute, reach around and grab my stuff. If it disconnects, I'll be back on, but I'm trying to do one live stream. So I'm just going to put my phone in the bag and in the pocket. Please entertain yourselves, but I'll be back. Can someone just type a comment to that effect? Greg will be back for the midnight showing. All right, here we go. Sorry, friends. I will leave it on in my pocket. I'm just scared of... Try and talk. Sure, right now you can hear a lot of scrunching. Hi there. You can hear me really well. Love and respect to you. My name is Greg, I'm 39. Country of the gutter of the Wabbagal people.